So I'm not gonna lie, Loner Life in Another World probably has one of the worst harems in recent Isekai memory, but I probably wouldn't change too much about it. Now, I've seen a common complaint about class rep and a lot of the girls that interact with our boy Haruka, which is they're annoying, they're infuriating, they're always on his ass, blah blah blah, and that's, yeah, it's objectively true. And you know how I feel. He's not as much of a loner as he claims to be, because if he really was, he would just use invisibility, literally walk a day that way and make a new home. He could do that. But he doesn't, because I think deep down he secretly enjoys it. And ultimately he's a little too whipped for his own good and thinks he has to stick by. But the thing about it is, I think, as annoying and infuriating it is that constantly this dude's involved in the largest harem that you could probably throw at him without being just objectively silly. Yet he gets none of the benefits of having a harem. They don't even kiss him, man. They're just on his ass like he's the laziest bastard known to man. Without that nagging, the show would be a lot more generic and self-insert than without it. Because here's the thing. For us, we're watching an overpowered Isekai MC. It doesn't matter if 1,000 orcs are coming his way, we assume he's gonna clobber them on the head. While yes, it's a little frightening that he's going up against a level 100 Skelly, may not be able to defeat that, but you still assume he's going to make it out. For them, this is reality. When you paint yourself and put yourself in their shoes, even if what he's done up to that point seems strong, it also seems lucky and foolish. Like, life is a one-time thing. So if, just because he's had massive success going up against impossible odds, eventually that's going to catch up and bite him in the ass. So from their point of view, their nagging realistically makes sense. But as a watcher, watching an overpowered Isekai MC, yeah, they're annoying. So on one hand, he's dealing with the worst harem I've seen in a long time. They give him no benefit, they just are on his ass and are annoying half the time. But without that, he would just be a character who would be talking to himself in the forest about how much of a loner he is. And that can only take you so far. So despite them being the worst love interest I think I can remember in some time, I'm actually glad they exist in the exact way they do. I don't know if I'm the only one feeling that, but I had to throw that out there. Now, of course, I have full live reactions over on Patreon. If you want to see my full and good thought and this Loner Life episodes, they're over there exclusively. So I didn't double check this, so this could be completely bullshit, but someone told me last week that apparently in the source material, originally they were planning off on killing Haruka during that fight, which, I mean, makes sense given how they directed it. Like, he actually was looking like he was gonna die. And the reason why Haruka got to stick around was because his character was actually decently popular, so obviously he got saved and continued to be the MC. And thinking to myself, I kind of have two reactions to that, because on one hand, I see exactly how this show would naturally evolve with him dead. You would pick another character among the cast, whether that was another nerd, a jock, who knows, and then you'd focus on them and then flesh them out. But on the flip side, I don't see any character that I think could be the MC. But then again, if you would have picked any of the other characters and had Haruka a part of one of these groups, I probably would have said the same thing, so on one hand, it's a bit of a shame that they didn't commit to that, because you don't really see shows do that too often, especially in what seems to be a surface level isekai at face value. But on the flip side, I do think Haruka is still the most entertaining character, and his antics are incredibly amusing. So it is an interesting thing. It maybe raised my eyebrow when I read that. I was like, that's wild. But the more I think of last episode, and especially with the way they directed this episode, I completely see how the plans might have initially been to give it to a new character as the role for the lead character, that is. But yeah, like, I'm glad he's still alive, but it's an interesting thing to think about if you really do. So basically, the premise of this episode is basically, my boy's entire big brain idea is, hey, if I go dungeon crawling, I can get an item that makes people really, really like me, meaning they'll never get mad at me and I can be a loner. He is a bit of a simpleton. I don't think anyone should deny that. The dude has an invisibility cloak. He can be alone whenever he wants. The worst part, too, is you can't even use the argument, well, it's not guaranteed that he won't get caught using it. His first time entering the dungeon was him using the damn invisibility cloak. He could literally abandon them all right now. You can make the argument, well, he wants to make sure they're safe. He's already done that. No, at the end of the day, he's a bit of a dummy. We shouldn't really try to argue this fact. It's the same reason as we shouldn't try to argue the fact that Class Rep and the others are annoying. They are. They're not nails on a chalkboard because they do entertain me with their bullshittery, but they're pretty close to that level, because at the end of the day, even though I understand where they're coming from with their frustration and worry, my boy's getting beat down by like 12 different women who think they are his wife, and he ain't even getting any action to make it even slightly tolerable. He's just getting yelled at. And the guys are just laughing at it in the background. It's like, you mofos, what the hell? So, it's kind of funny, and this is the type of simple humor I really enjoy. So he talks with the dude who sold him a bunch of items that he merged together, and he's like, hey, yeah, you go through the dungeon, probably around level 50, you'll fight a boss who will drop that ring. Thing is you can't just skip floors. Like, you have to go floor by floor, find the boss, defeat the boss, do it. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, sure, makes sense. I wonder if we'll get into like a Stardew Valley situation, because if you ever have done the mines in Stardew Valley, sometimes there's like little holes you can jump down and skip a bunch of levels. My boy trips and falls and gets to way past 50 and discovers the hidden boss. So either the dude was bullshitting us, or it's just really dumb to jump down because most people aren't going to be able to earth bend the world to be a cushion, but that left me rolling. So he's just fighting a giant skeleton, but that skeleton's fast as hell. You assume he has to live, because if they were going to commit to killing him, they would have done it in the previous episode. But right now, I don't see how he would. Like, I actually would be okay if they went the road of him having to flee, because you wouldn't see that too often. But, you know, there's a high possibility he beats this thing and they all stumble down and they get frustrated that he once again did a reckless thing. But the funniest part of the episode was definitely them waiting around for the orc. So I figured the gag was going to be that the whole episode would go by and like they were just falling asleep waiting, because if it wasn't for our boy, there would have been a horde of orcs and a, you know, Lord King Orc, whatever, who would have barged through the front gate, and then he just walks through like, oh yeah, I dealt with them hours ago. And obviously from their point of view, they're thinking like, you know, he can't just keep doing, like, he's risking his life, but really for him, he's playing whack-a-mole. I think he actually called it whack-a-orc in this episode. It's like, the dude has no chill. I do think this is probably one of the worst harems I've seen in recent memory, not because, like, it's the worst in the way of, like, it infuriates you. It's like, no, like, they're purposely annoying, and because of that, it adds to a level of enjoyment on top of just having an idiot MC who could have been alone this entire time, but chooses not to because he's too nice and secretly does enjoy the company, and no one can convince me otherwise. Of course, those are my feelings. Let me know your thoughts and feelings on this latest episode, and how are you feeling about the harem? I know a lot of people find characters like Class Her Up very annoying, but I'd be interested to hear, you know, we're 8 episodes in now. What are you feeling? Are you like me, or completely different feeling? Thoughts down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new around here. Of course, ring that bell. And like I mentioned, full live reactions over on Patreon. And hey, wherever there, I'll also give you a video shout out. So today we got Big Devow, Adler2704, Shassin Passin, Alzier, Jacob, A. Barrett, The Drunk Crusader. We also have Tommy Jameson. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care, and y'all have a good one.